Why be mad when you can be glad? Apparently no one can be normal about a new Taylor Swift album. And I mean, it's 2025. Can we be normal about anything? No. The answer is no. My name is Liz, and I chat about whatever's on my mind. And I find the reaction to Taylor's new album to be very interesting. And I don't think it's a matter of whether you like the album or not. The discourse is happening for fans, for haters. It's happening for everyone. I sat down to write a little bit about the discourse and thought maybe I'll make a video about it. And it was 8 o'clock when I sat down to write, and I looked at my phone at 9:30, and I'd written for 90 minutes. Now, is this 90 minutes worth of words? Clearly not. This video is not going to be 90 minutes long. But I definitely had some thoughts, and I wanted to specifically talk about right-wing women latching onto Taylor Swift's new album, and whether this is MAGA propaganda, because that is the complaint that I think has the longest impact, or the biggest impact, is the life of a showgirl, MAGA propaganda. I can't believe I'm even asking the question, because this is what Taylor Swift was tweeting about Trump in 2020, and her call to vote against Trump actually increased voter registration in the election. I guess it's valid because conservative women are latching onto this album, but it feels very strange that I have to say that some people want to know, is the life of a showgirl MAGA propaganda? And I gotta clarify who I am. Am I a Swiftie? Apparently not, because I don't like the life of a showgirl. I keep seeing people post on their stories top 5 songs from the album. If I were to post in my stories, it would be top 5 songs I hated the most from Life of a Showgirl. There's only one song in this album that I kind of maybe liked, and that's Elizabeth Taylor. The rest of the album, I skipped. I did make myself listen to every song, but I wanted to skip. And the first time through, I just skipped. And then I went back and listened to the songs I skipped, and I was like, yeah, I was right the first time. So it's not my favorite album, but I have enjoyed Taylor's whole artistry for most of my adult life. Some of my earliest memories of as an adult are choosing to listen to 1989 in college. And I remember when Look What You Made Me Do dropped, and I streamed it, broke the rules of my school to stream it in my dorm room. Always enjoyed Taylor Swift's albums. I've had some that I like more than others. I love Midnight, but this album just didn't hit for me. And I think part of how much I dislike this album comes more from how much I dislike the discourse. You can't just like or not like something normally anymore. Everybody has to have an opinion and discourse about it, including me, because I'm clearly making a YouTube video about it. So my thesis for today's video is that Taylor Swift's music mirrors the culture. Taylor Swift's music is a mirror to our culture, especially her last few albums. And I think that some albums more than others are very representative of the prevailing culture of the time that they were released. I think this trend of music being a mirror to the culture starts especially with Lover. And you have Me being the lead single and having a music video that is full of LGBTQ icons, and Taylor Swift performing at Pride, at various different prides at the Stonewall Inn.
This is a bad way to end the show. I think there are 6 drag queens in this building who can sing this better than me. A really fantastic Taylor Swift impersonator. Or even Taylor Swift. She's not here. Don't worry. Why would Taylor Swift be here? Because she's amazing.
That era was a very 2019 woke culture era. And then the next album is Folklore, and Folklore is very much of 2020, of the pandemic, of an era that seemed right. Her music seemed pulled right from all of our emotions, that we were all feeling that isolation, that sense of loss, that sense of finding yourself again. And Folklore seemed to fit right into that, with the woodsy cottagecore, introspective, secluded, quiet, all of that motif seemed to be from the era of 2020. Folklore pushed the boundaries of Taylor's music as an artist. It presented new sound and style and really highlighted her expertise as a poet, as a lyricist, and it also was different in that it didn't seem to be pulled directly from her dating life, and a lot of the songs didn't seem to be about her dating life in particular, but she created a whole narrative to weave through the album that existed outside of herself. And I think that sets Folklore apart from many of her other albums, and that it is not about her dating life and romance. And I think a lot of fans like me miss that a little bit. Now, I was a fan before Folklore, and I love my favorite album. I want to say right now, I have two favorite albums, Reputation and Midnights. This is all my personal opinion as a Swiftie, and I actually don't know if somebody else has talked about this before. Like, has somebody else talked about her albums mirroring the culture and being representative of the, like, shift in culture? I don't know. Somebody may have talked about that before. That's just something I really think is very clear when it comes to the life of a showgirl. The life of a showgirl is very much like Lover was in 2019, and that is very of the times. This album is of our times, which is why when people say, oh, it's MAGA propaganda, our entire culture feels like MAGA propaganda right now, because not only did the country vote for Donald Trump in 2024, but the idea of trad wives and the separation of men and women and the anti-feminism movement is the cultural zeitgeist right now. Right-wing media, right-wing women, right-wing influencers have latched onto Taylor's album as an endorsement of that lifestyle. In fact, they've gone so far as to proclaim that her engagement, her marriage, her saying she wants kids on the album, that all of that will create a baby fever among the previous generation of childless millennial women.
Great hope for Taylor Swift is that Travis Kelce proposes to her. She gets married to Travis Kelce. They have lots of babies, and a bunch of young feminist women decide that actually marriage is not the worst idea, and they get married and have a bunch of babies, and we can have the Taylor Swift baby boom.
And one of my favorite, like, cheeky lines that Taylor's saying, I'm just gonna go on home to my cats, you know, the childless cat woman that she was. Now the album is the anthem of housewives and engaged women, and it's celebrating marriage and family. And I don't think those two things are in opposition to each other, but culturally, people are setting them against each other. One of the songs of the album that a lot of people are talking about in representing this is Wish List, spelled with a $sign instead of an S. And she sings about the desire to have her fiance's kids in the future. She says, just want you, have a couple kids, got the whole block looking like you. We tell the world to leave us the F alone, and they do. Got me dreaming about a driveway with a basketball hoop. Boss up, settle down, got a wish list, I just want you. Importantly, this is framing as Taylor's own desires in contrast to the desires of other people, her peers, or other people in the industry. And she sings about their wishes, and they should have what they want. They deserve what they want. I hope they get what they want. MAGA claims that Taylor Swift is no longer a feminist because she's no longer desiring a career, but instead wants to settle down and have kids with her fiance. And she wants to sing about how the glittering temporary things you get with a career are no longer desirable, and she wants that basketball hoop, the kids in the backyard, and to have the whole neighborhood looking like her boyfriend's kids. I don't like the song. I'll just say I don't like the song. When I first heard it, I wanted to skip it. I did listen to the whole thing, and as I was thinking about this video, and when I was really reading the lyrics, because of all the MAGA people being like, Taylor doesn't want a career, she wants to be canceled and live at home with her kids. The strange thing about the lyrics is what Taylor is singing about in contrasting life with kids, staying at home. She sings about the yacht life, about winning awards and being studded with jewels and like having a fat ass with a baby face. I find that very interesting because all of those things that she is singing about in contrast to her current desires are things that she has already achieved. She has achieved the pinnacle of success for women. She is currently achieving the #1 most sold female artist in history. So when she is contrasting her simple life at home with the kids, she's contrasting it to a life that she is living, a life where she has the yacht, the Oscars, the most Grammys awarded to any other female artist. Even the fat ass with the baby face. When I think about this album and the album covers, she has portrayed herself very sexily, including having a fat ass. with a young face. So Taylor has done everything that she claims that she no longer desires on Wishlist. She still has her career, and she has put it on the record that she has no intention of stopping her music career or putting it on pause because she might get married and have kids.
Taylor, don't tell me this is your last album.
What? No.
I just saw some fans going, well, she's going to get married, and then she's going to have children, and then it's going to be the last album.
A shockingly offensive thing to say.
Absolutely. It is not the last album.
It's not why people get married.
No, exactly.
So that they can
That's
quit their job.
Right.
I don't think that's what Taylor Swift envisioned when she wrote Wishlist. After all, this is an album titled The Life of a Showgirl. So Taylor has lived the life of a showgirl. She has been in the public eye since she was a young teen, and she has continually chosen to be in the public eye. She has chosen to, publicly date, announce her album on her boyfriend's podcast, and do things that promote both her relationship and her business together. And in contrasting that public life in this song, the Gucci glam life, with a wish list of being away from the public eye, having your kids and a whole block full of them, I think she's saying that's not something that is available to her. Like, she is saying, I have all of this, and maybe I could wish for the house with the kids and the quiet life. She's just released a new album that she has heavily promoted. She has been on TV every single chance she's gotten. She has announced that she has no intention of retiring, and she sings in the song, "We tell the world to leave us the F alone, and they do." But she is not doing that. She is not telling the world to leave her the F alone. In fact, she is saying, here's more music. Here, buy it. Make me more billions. Like, this song, I don't think it's sarcastic, but I do think it is contrasting a life that she will never have. I think this song is a farcical dream, because in what world are we going to leave Travis and Taylor alone? Perhaps that's on us. Perhaps that's our fault as consumers, that people crave so much of their celebrities that Travis and Taylor could never have a life away from the public eye. But also, Travis and Taylor have curated a life in the public eye on purpose. Taylor Swift's wish list of a neighborhood with kids and a basketball hoop is just as much of a fantasy as Romeo and Juliet running away together and living happily ever after in Love Story. And yet it's become the focus of this fervor of the outcry, Taylor Swift is MAGA coded, that she is tradwife coded, when she has literally created a fantasy that does not exist. How is it tradwife coded to sing about a future that you will not have and that you might not even be participating in? I'm just gonna say it. None of y'all know what a tradwife is. All these people who are like, she's a tradwife, she's tradwife coded. How is this tradwife coded? Because a tradwife has no agency. A tradwife has no source of her own income. A tradwife has no image of her own. Everything is wrapped up in her husband and her family. A tradwife is not a feminist. Swift is not that. Taylor Swift is her own brand outside of her relationships. She is a career woman who has chosen to pursue her career, who has become a billionaire via her career, and who has continued to make money and create content that will get her more money, more records broken, and in the spotlight over and over and over again. While her political activism has become more and more muted especially post-2020, but even more post-2024, she has spoken up on feminism before and has been very outspoken about voting for people who will uphold women's rights. And I don't think that's very tradwife coded. I think someone who just less than a year ago endorsed Kamala Harris for president is not tradwife coded because they're singing about living in a neighborhood with a husband and kids. And in fact, if we're going to say Taylor Swift is tradwife coded because she has a husband and kids, is Hillary Clinton tradwife coded because she didn't leave her husband for cheating on her? Is Michelle Obama a tradwife because she gave up her promising law career to support her husband? Like, what makes a woman tradwife coded? Please tell me in the comments if you think Taylor Swift is tradwife coded. Why aren't all these other women who have deliberately sacrificed their careers and done things that perhaps didn't advance women for the sake of their relationship? because lots of women have done that, and that doesn't make them tradwives. It makes us complicated creatures who often have to make the choice between our own futures and our desires in order to collaborate with the men we have chosen to live with. I don't know Hillary Clinton personally, but I can imagine that she did not want to stay in a marriage with a man who consistently cheated on her and lied about it. And yet Hillary Clinton is one of my feminist icons. Like, I disagree with her about some politics, but she has done more for women than I would probably ever do and a lot of other women will ever do. Also, women can be feminists and stay at home with their husbands, love their kids, and promote that lifestyle without presenting it as the only good life choice for a woman. And I don't think that's what Taylor is doing. I don't think Taylor Swift is presenting having kids and being married as the only option or the best option for women. And in fact, her entire life, she has chosen other things than kids and marriage. And so I think we should take a look at her whole life in that one song and one album. Now, onto my second favorite song to talk about, Canceled. I think that Canceled is pretty tone deaf. I think leaves a bad taste in my mouth. I don't enjoy it as a song. I like my friends coated in Gucci and Scandal. It's just like, this doesn't hit for me. But I would say Taylor Swift and the women her friends, have been often canceled by right-wing media and are going through ongoing cancellations by right-wingers. I mean, Blake Lively, a lot of people speculate the song is about Blake Lively. Blake Lively has been relentlessly attacked by the most abhorrent right-wing media people in this country, aka Candace Owens. Other people speculate the song is about Sophie Turner, who was hounded for being a, quote, party mom and not staying home to raise Joe Jonas's kids the way that he wanted, and he then used tabloids and the press to paint her in a negative light. And I think that's pretty anti-feminist of Joe Jonas's team. I also think it's anti-feminist of Candace Owens and the other people who attacked Blake Lively. And I think this is a call out of the people who have double standards for women and Taylor Swift's friends. And it actually upholds the patriarchy in the way that we attack women like Blake Lively and Sophie Turner. I can't imagine that the song is actually about Brittany Mahomes and her MAGA family. Like, I just don't think Taylor Swift is that friendly with Brittany to write a song about Brittany Mahomes. If it is, I could be wrong. But I will say Taylor Swift has not been canceled by liberals pretty much ever. Like, the most times she has been canceled has been by the right-wing media and by the tabloid press and like social media mobs who sometimes were not even politically associated, like the Kardashian drama. Like, that was not political. But the most recent outcry to her has been President Trump social media posts saying, like, I hate Taylor Swift, in all caps, might I add. And it created a right-wing fervor that perpetuated this anti-Taylor Swift ideas that Taylor Swift was too liberal, that actually people accused her of being demonic because of the Willow dancing scenes and the Eras tour. People said she was witchy and like not good for kids anymore, and she was unchristian. And they were like, these people on social media were saying they were gonna delete Taylor Swift's music and not let their kids listen to it. And I don't really hear liberals say that. Like, the most I hear people being like, let's cancel Taylor Swift, has been the right wing, like far-right Christians and Donald Trump. If this was the first time Taylor Swift had ever written a song about being canceled, I might be more critical of the song. But Taylor Swift has written about being canceled. She didn't call it that in other albums because, number one, this album seems to be pulled from TikTok lingo. And number two, she wrote it better in other albums as well. And I think it's a theme of the public turning on her that has haunted her since Kanye took the VMAs award from her, upstaged her at the VMAs and said that she didn't deserve the award. And she felt like the public, when they booed Kanye in that room, were booing her, and that has haunted her for years. And you see this theme of the public turning and accusing a woman unjustly over and over again in her albums. We have Mad Woman from Folklore, the lyrics, and you'll poke that bear till her claws come out, and you'll find something to wrap your noose around, and there's nothing like a mad woman. And then the album before this, The Tortured Poet's Apartment. Is it a wonder I broke? Let's hear one more joke. Then we could all just laugh until I cry. So I leap from the gallows and I levitate down your street. Crash the party like a record scratch as I scream. Who's afraid of little old me? I was tame, I was gentle till the circus life made me mean. Don't you worry, folks. We took out all of her teeth. This whole imagery of a woman being driven to insanity because the public turns on her. And I think it started heavily influencing her music and reputation when she wrote, "They're burning all the witches even if you aren't one. They got their pitchforks and proof, their receipts and their reasons." And then you contrast that to the lyrics in this album. It's easy to love you when you're popular, the optics click, everyone prospers, but one single drop, you're off the roster. Tone deaf and hot, let's fucking off her. Did you make a joke only a man could? Were you just too smug for your own good? Or bring a tiny violin to a knife fight? Baby, that all ends tonight. The lyrics just sound like they were taken from TikTok. That's why I don't like this album. But it's the same theme. It is literally the same theme of Taylor Swift seeing herself as in the center of the public turning on her and being canceled. And it is something that has repeatedly haunted her, as I said, since the 2009 VMAs. But since the release of Reputation, Swift has weathered politicians attacking her. She's weathered an album being completely panned, and to this day, the lead single still being mocked. She has been hounded very publicly by Gaylors who were published, I think, in the New York Times. Like, people think they have the craziest rights to her private life of any celebrity that I've ever seen. And she has seen her friends canceled by the far right. The stuff that the far right has done to Blake Lively is abominable, and they have intentionally tried to drive wedges between Blake Lively and Taylor Swift. They are monetizing trying to get Blake Lively canceled and Taylor Swift to turn on her best friend. I think the backlash to Brittany Mahomes showing up with her at an NFL game has been very, very little compared to all of the other crazy stuff that has happened to Swift and her close circle and Blake Lively in 2024. I will say her latest album, perhaps most of any of her recent work, really does center this narrative. She is being canceled all the time and that she is the victim of the public. I think this attitude does a disservice to Taylor as a billionaire who has the most power of anyone in the music industry right now. And it does a disservice to her fans who are then pitted against everyone else in the world as if they're not for Taylor, they're against Taylor and therefore against her fans. And I think that is part of why canceled leaves such a bad taste in folks' mouth. Because then if you critique Taylor Swift in any way, I mean, she is a billionaire who's released a million variants of all of her albums in order to become the most sold artist the most sold female artist in history. She broke Adele's record when Adele only released one version of her album and Taylor has released like over a dozen. Like that leaves a bad taste in my mouth. And I'm not even like, I don't think I've ever listened to an Adele song on purpose. Like, I just think that's a little like, I would rather you get that title by just the quality of your music, not the amount of albums that you can sell of the same music, like the album varieties of the same music. Millions of people buying multiple versions of the same album. It's just like a little weird to be able to say that you broke that record. There are reasons to critique her. But because of this myopic view of herself as the victim and a maelstrom of public cancellations, it is really hard to critique Swift. It's really hard to say, hey, I loved some of Taylor's albums, but I don't like this album and I don't like her attitude towards her fans, and saying that all valid critique doesn't understand her music because it's just sarcasm.
At what point do you sort of start to write and it comes from a very sort of unexplained place, but then you go, okay, you know what? I can actually marry this with something really interesting that mixes the cerebral with the emotional.
Yeah, I think that's a really amazing thing that you're cluing in on, which is that sometimes I'll use specific vernacular to be satirical.
I don't like that. I don't like that attitude. But it's very difficult to say that without being lambasted on the internet. And that's not a comfortable thought. It's hard to make you enjoy an artist when you can't enjoy them and when you must enjoy them at all times to be labeled a fan. My one consolation, though, as every single annoying right-wing person on the internet uses the song Canceled to also make themselves the victim, is knowing that the minute Taylor Swift endorses a political belief that they don't like, that they will be among the first people who would cancel Swift. And they have been among the people who have canceled Swift in the past and who probably reposted Donald Trump saying, "I hate Taylor Swift." As I stated earlier, there is nothing normal about a Taylor Swift album release because everyone is required to have an opinion, and if you don't, you are hounded by everyone else's opinion. And I think it's because Taylor Swift's music, as I stated in my original thesis, is a mirror of American culture and speaks to what all of us are seeing around us, and everyone is a showgirl on their own stage in the age of social media. We're all showgirls. There's nothing unique now. We're all dancing and performing. And leftist white women are some of the worst people on the internet. I'm a liberal white woman, not a leftist. Anyway, they have been among some of the worst people, falling over themselves in their attempts to be the showgirl of allyship. Like, we will say that we do not like Taylor Swift and we wanted to be applauded for it. I read this message from a white woman and it like cracked me up. Like, it was so funny. It's just funny to me. This one woman said, "I listened to all of the songs on the life of a showgirl. With each song, I became more confused and unsettled." Why are you getting confused and unsettled over the most bland music I've literally ever heard? "This album reads like right-wing propaganda. The racism and misogyny aren't even thinly veiled. There are no dog whistles." I thought you said the whole album was a dog whistle, but whatever. Check the lyrics. She says it out loud. The nods to the trad wife aesthetic. What is the trad wife aesthetic? Please define it. Staying loyal to MAGA celebs who get outed. It's all chilling. What MAGA celebs have been outed as MAGA celebrities that is Taylor Swift loyal to? I'm just curious. The best part of the statement is, "I could say I'm surprised, but I'm not. As all people of color already know well, no white woman can really ever be trusted." Lumping all people of color together. All people of color know this. You as a white woman are announcing that no white woman can ever be trusted. So how is your statement trustworthy? Anyway, I just have to point out that it's not just right-wingers who are annoying. Leftists are equally as annoying about Taylor Swift. Like, can't you just be normal about it all? Like, please, just be normal about it, please. There are valid critiques of this album, and Sympathy as a Knife is a much better song than Actually Romantic. And I think that anyone who reads into the album as Taylor Swift attacking her fiance's ex-girlfriend, I don't think they're off base that much. And I do think it's a little disappointing that that can be read into the music. Like, if Taylor Swift didn't want that to be read into the music, she would have done something to avoid that. She's smart enough to know that people would figure out and could guess that she is thinking about her fiance's ex-girlfriend. I just think it's weird. You're so confident in your relationship. You have the biggest freaking engagement ring that I've ever seen on anyone, and you are dissing your fiance's ex-girlfriend and also using words that could be thinly veiled attacks on black women with "I'm not a savage, I'm not a bitch, I'm not a savage." Like, that's lyrics from a very famous black woman, and you're saying "I'm not that." And it goes back to the image Swift curated of herself with Debut and Fearless and Speak Now that is really not true anymore. Taylor Swift has curated this image of herself as the awkward nerd who was never cool. Like, she's the cheerleader, she's in short skirts, I'm not, I'm in the bleachers. But Swift is the ringleader. She is the ringmaster of the music industry, and she sings about that in Father Figure. Not only does she protect her own family of albums, but she has defined success and has knocked down other artists in her push for dominance. In doing that, it makes music where you attack other artists come across as really tone deaf and really not leaves a good taste in my mouth and leaves you open to really valid criticism. So I think there are layers of critique that are excellent about this album. I think we should elevate the voices of black women who call out the misogynoir and how Taylor Swift has pitted herself against black women and also black, like, music lyrics of other black artists like Megan Thee Stallion. Like, I think that was just a weird lyric to write into your song and would be interpreted as a diss on other women. Also, going back to Actually Romantic, I know someone else has said this online, so I'm not giving credit to myself. Other people have said this. I think Actually Romantic would have been a great song if it had been about someone with legitimate power who has bullied Taylor Swift. And that would be Donald Trump. Donald Trump is obsessed with Taylor Swift. He, like, tweets about her, messages about her every time, like, all the time. He's like, I don't really like her music. He's publicly answered questions about her music and has, as I mentioned earlier, like, tweeted in all caps, "I hate Taylor Swift." Like, you could have written a song about a man who was obsessed with you, and it would have come across much better than a song about an artist who is never going to be as big as you or a billionaire as you, and who was singing about their insecurities and wasn't really dissing you, but was talking about their own feelings in relationship to the biggest artists in the music industry as an artist trying to break through in the music industry. And you were punching down and doing that. And I think that shows how fragile of a person Taylor Swift has allowed themselves to be, and not growing from trauma that was inflicted on them earlier in their career. And I think that's for all of us. Like, it's valid to be hurt. It's valid to feel like an outsider, but don't carry a chip on your shoulder, and don't stop your own growth in order to continue a manufactured image of yourself as a victim, which is what this album really feels like in many ways. Now, all that said, I'm looking forward to not having to scroll past 1.5 million hot takes on this album, which is crazy because I'm literally making a video about the album. I'm looking forward to ignoring every single MAGA woman who reposts this album as an endorsement of their lifestyle. It's annoying. And I'm looking forward to it in a month when the trend is done. And then I can go back and re-listen to the album, and maybe I'll like more of the songs then. Maybe I'll appreciate them more in a month or two. I did appreciate Midnights the very second it dropped. It was and is my favorite album since 2020. And I've been that way about like all the albums that I like. I like them immediately. There's not an album that has grown on me. I love them all. I loved Lover when it came out. I loved Folklore when it came out. I am very fond of the Tortured Poets department. It is so long that I can't figure out one song that I like most, because I would just rather listen to Midnights. And Reputation is my favorite. I might say 1989. I love 1989 though. I just love a lot of her music. I don't see myself listening or adding any of the songs except maybe Elizabeth Taylor to one of my playlists and listening to it later on. I feel like she has written about so many of the same themes and better songs in her older albums. That's just my opinion. So thank you all for watching. Feel free to discourse in the comments, and maybe, hopefully, this is one of the last videos you will see about the Taylor Swift album discourse. And I'm sorry for subjecting you to another think piece on Taylor Swift. I know it's not that fun. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all all around the internet. Until next time, see ya.
We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service.